All right, so what is the title of today's lecture? Does anyone actually know, or are we just like, hey, Lucas is talking, Lab Code Man says good things, let's go? Anyone actually know the title of this? Someone has to know the title, right? You ever just show up like, I don't know what's going to happen. It could be anything. This could be a multi-level marketing scheme, and you'd have no idea. I could be selling you Tupperware for an hour. Really? Yeah. It's like on the posters somewhere. I thought there were posters.
Technology Adaptation Lifecycle.
Boom! You just looked that up. All right, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. The Technology Adaptation Lifecycle, and there's a subtitle on that. What's the subtitle? We had to augment it so it didn't swear.
What does that even mean?
Exactly. What does that even mean? And that's a really good question. Because the Technology Adaptation Lifecycle sounds like a mouthful of words that doesn't really mean anything to most of us. But I promise you it's actually pretty cool. And it's one of those really great ways that you can pretend to be a psychic. And by a psychic, I mean one of the few people in society that reads history and that way knows when it's about to repeat itself, which is happening all the time, especially in technology. So there's this kind of cognitive dissonance that we have, we being humans, and it's kind of fun, where the longer ago something happened, the less important it is. Even if it was some big, really crazy event, it doesn't matter. The longer it is away from today, the less we care about it whatsoever. And the less accurate we get when we start trying to figure out when it happened. It's kind of crazy how that works. Like the invention of the internet, anyone actually know? We don't. It's a while ago. Sometime they invented the internet. They built the pyramids. It was somewhere in there, right? When we start getting back farther and farther terms, everything kind of blurs together and doesn't end well when we try to accurately recall information. However, we can still recall more recent information. Like, when did the iPhone come out?
2006.
All right, cool, probably. We had that almost down to a year. That's awesome. Whereas the internet was sometime probably before that, I guess. And we don't know, and it doesn't matter. Because again, it was far enough away that it's like, okay, that's probably important. And that's about as far as we get. Now, this point is illustrated in how thoroughly entrenched we are with the history of technology in a number of ways. Because what ends up happening is it gets problematic when it comes to this cognitive dissonance we have with things in the past. Very problematic when it comes to things with like health, politics, geography, really anything involving international affairs. It gets rough. When it comes to technology, though, it's hilarious because we have this beautiful lack of knowledge when it comes to, wait a minute, how long ago was that? And so we can actually see that in real time. So the Technology Adaptation Lifecycle is something that I'm going to explain, but I'm not actually going to start with that. We're going to start with a little game. Calling it a game is a bit generous. We're going to start with me making fun of you. No. I mean, that is what it is, but I need a better way to call it. Whatever, the name aside, I've been asked to make this lecture as interactive as possible, which is challenging considering we're discussing the technological adaptation life cycle and history of effects. Not too much interaction there, but that's okay because it's not going to stop us. So, here's a chart. All of these products have at least 50 million users, unique users for the record. Well, we'll keep it at just users. All of these products has at least 50 million users, probably a lot more, but not all of them got to that stage. Note that these are not being presented here in the order in which they were released. These are being presented in the order, or something shuffled nearby, that they finally got that 50 millionth user. Now, for the sake of this example, we're going to define a user very strictly, as in not someone that made the thing. So like the first thing, airlines, yes, technically the first flight was like, I guess, the Wright brothers, but also it depends on what you describe as flight, because there were some pretty glorious suicide attempts that also probably counted as that before then, and I don't know if we want to count those because that gets rough. So instead, we're just going to say a commercial airline flight. I paid money to get on this giant metal thing, and it went in the air, and then it landed, and I didn't die. That's the entire definition. So does anyone know when we had flight when we first got that? About the same time the internet was invented, right?
1803.
So this is what I'm talking about. The farther away something gets, the more likely we're going to be off. We got iPhone down to like a year or two. The concept of flight by maybe 100 years or so.
1918?
Yeah, something like that. Early 1900s. So 1803, it's a little over 100 years off, but that's the whole point is that, oh, wait a minute, the longer it goes behind, the less accurate we're going to get. So we get flight in 1918, 1912, somewhere in there. The specific doesn't matter. What does matter is how many years from the inception of, oh my God, someone paid their first time flying to the 50 millionth person that did that exact same thing. How many years? Give me some guesses. You that's walking out disinterested. How many years did it take the 50 millionth person to pay for an airline from its inception? 60? 60 years. Okay, give me another guess. Is he right? 50? 45. 45. We had 50, 60, 45, 45, 45, 40. What? 20, 20, what? 20, 20, 20, going twice, 20, 20, told, yes, 30, 30. We're going back up again. That's not how this works. All right, cool, 30. Yes? 55, back to 60 at the original. All right, so we have everywhere from 50 to 65 to 30 to 20. We're not entirely sure. Any other guesses before I reveal it? You had an almost hand there. I'll take a half hand, half a guess. 22, that's an odd modulus. All right, anyone want to name like the amount of months and everything too? I'm not making fun of you yet.
6 months and 25 days.
6 months and 25 days. That's how, when we had 1918, the first person paid, wow, I guess it's safe. Yeah, I'll buy that. 6 months and 21 days, less than a year, the 50 millionth person also paid. They made the planes that quickly to do that. It was actually 68 years, so more than literally anyone guessed. He got closest, though, so there's no prize, unfortunately. The prize is you get to leave. Bye. So 68 years. That took a while. Now, that one makes sense when you think about it, because as far as airplanes are concerned, that's absolutely terrifying. Yeah, man, just sit there. I'll use this control cockpit that you can't even begin to understand. You're going to hear some really loud explosions, and then we're going to be several thousand feet up in the air. We're going to go faster than any human's ever gone before. And then we're going to hit the ground. And you get to pay me for it. It makes sense it would take a while for people to be like, all right, fine, I'll do this thing. And that gets to the actual adaptation of it, which we'll come to in a bit. But it took a while for that to happen because no one wanted to do that at first for obvious reasons. So 68 years later, that 50 millionth person steps foot and says, here's my ticket, and they land, and then confetti or something. I don't know. I don't think they even knew they were the 50 millionth. But that happened 68 years later. So this was actually kind of recent that we hit that. Like the 70s, 80s, we finally got 50 millionth person up in the air, to pay for it at least. So realistically, automobiles are a lot easier. They're not nearly as dangerous. Well, okay, objectively they are in fact way more dangerous, but you know, conceptually as far as humans are concerned, there's more people afraid of flight than there are of cars for whatever reason, so it doesn't matter how many people die here. So how many years, anyone know when we first got like the first car? And bear in mind, what? 1900 what? 1903. So we had it even before airlines. And the first car, like the one with the key that you wind up in the back, and then when it's going, then you put around wherever it is. You know what I'm talking about? So 1903, and then at what point then did we have the 50 millionth person hop into the car? And this is interesting because planes can take a lot of people at a time. Automobiles, those are expensive and hold like maybe 4. Back in the day, they barely hold 2, and that was not including the horse. So an automobile, this thing that lets you be mobile and it's automatic. It has an engine. We got explosions working. We call that a combustion engine. It was a big deal. How many years do we think for the 50 millionth user? What? 45, 21, 18, 37, 20, 63. Who said that? I like your hair, dude. All right, so we've got a lot of guesses here. Let's see who's right. Holy, bro, what? With the hair, what the hell? Yeah, you're right. 62 years. So the 50 millionth person did get in a car before the 50 millionth person got in a plane, but it also took a while. Because again, this whole technology of I'm going to get in this thing and use explosions to go where I'm going, excellent. It takes a while to catch on, but you're going to notice a trend as we get through these. What about the telephone? And I need to be specific with the telephone because unlike the other two where you can actually go somewhere in it, the telephone, I'm going to say the 50 millionth household installation, I would say. So yes, user, you go to your bud's house and you use it, but I'm saying like when it was the 50 millionth hookup to the telephone lines. Now remember, the original telephone lines are not what we have today, where we have those nice power lines and it's organized. The original telephone lines were absolutely terrifying, like political cartoons from the early 1900s of them just blotting out the sky because there's too many of them, because we just had a bunch of power and we were routing it through the sky, and birds were hitting it and dying, and it was absolutely nightmarish. How many years do we think it took before the 50 millionth person was like, all right, hook me up, plug my house into the lab. All right, I want to do it. And what? 57. Going for a trend, maybe, yeah? 40? We've all realized we have no idea how this works, so we're just kind of taking a stab. That's fine. It's really interesting because the telephone is something that, unlike automobiles and airlines, those make explosions that are scary, but you can, depending on where you live, hear in the real world, like explosions. Phones are the first time we actually see this introducing things to a human environment, much like a caged animal when you introduce something it's unaware of and it kind of freaks out a little bit, and then once it gets used to it, it's fine. This is us introducing that to the human environment, and it wasn't good. The concept of a bell ringing is terrifying as well if you've never heard it. Like imagine it's dark at your house and you hear brrring, brrring, cool, that's terrifying. I don't know what monster makes that sound, but I don't want anything to do with it. So a lot of people weren't really on board with it. It took a while. And we had, what was it, 40 and 53, right? 57, any other guesses? 52 years and 8 months. You're going to hit one of these and it's going to be terrifying, yeah? 71 and a half years. I like the level of specificity we're getting, but no, not quite. 50 years. You're getting close, halfway between both of you guys. It was getting faster. And it's great because remember, telephone lines and electricity are separate. How many years did it take for us to get electric? This one, I'll admit, was a lot faster because on one hand, you have death juice that we're pumping through our walls, but on the other hand, I don't have to light fires to see anymore. Like that whole concept of an oil lamp where if you do it too much and suddenly you're holding an explosion, we don't need that anymore. We have this death juice going through our walls and ceiling. And the original light bulbs, and up until we had LEDs, because incandescents were the same way, so up until like a couple years ago, the concept of a light bulb was, what if we have enough power going through this that the metal gets so hot it actually lights up but doesn't combust, and we get it as close to that as we can, and it like gets glowingly hot. And then we did it, and we called it electricity. How long did it take for 50 million people to do this? 42 years, 8 months, 6 weeks. I'm going to reveal one of these, and it's going to be like 42 years, 8 months, 6 weeks, and it's like how many seconds down to the day or something. The tracking does get better the more recent it gets, because a lot of these are the best guesses we have. 23 years. 10. Just 10. 55? Because this stuff was scary. Nah, 46. Turns out when you're lighting explosions off in your house, there's a lot of danger, so the death juice isn't that bad. Humans do a lot of things to see. Even in caveman days, we wanted to see, and we created this dangerous poison called smoke that if you lit it in a cave, it would also kill you. Eyesight, just a faster way to die. It's unfortunate. But you know what? We figured out ways around that. Now we have LEDs, which we still don't know how they work. Credit cards. Before you guess on this one, please. My words, they mean nothing. You need to understand what a credit card is and why this is such a big deal, because obviously we're talking from automobiles, flight, communication, electricity, and then we get to credit cards. Like that doesn't seem as big of a deal. But I promise you it is. Who here is an adult that remembers pre-credit card days? I see like 3 of you, none of y'all raising your hands. That's fine, whatever, you don't have to out yourself. How old are you?
I'm too young to remember this stuff.
Really? Too young? How old does that make you then? Okay, good. So, before credit cards, when the bank was closed, that was the end. If you didn't have money, that was it. Like on the weekends, you had money for the weekend, you withdraw your stuff on Friday, and so you can go do things, and when the bank is closed, then you're done doing things. And that was pretty much the way of it. Credit cards were not like that. You could actually have this magical, debatably plastic thing, and you say, don't worry, take it away from the bank when they open up on Monday. I'm good for it. And you're signing up to have some scary man cap your kneecaps if you can't pay that on Monday. And that's like debt in your pocket, which is awesome. till about 2008. But before then, it was really cool. And so we also need to understand this was not just a big deal. And this kind of goes to show you how our cognitive dissonance affects us. So in the 70s, women weren't allowed to have credit cards, which sounds wild, right? Anyone know what I'm talking about? I see a couple nodding heads. Or am I just making things up? You had to get your husband or father's approval to have a credit card for your bank account because you couldn't have your own stuff like that. The 70s, like, 50 years ago. So, kind of wild how fast time flies. And now it sounds like I'm making these things up when I tell you all these things. And yet, so how long before we got the 50 millionth user? I bring up that factoid on, minor gender discrimination throughout history to keep in mind that there were not a lot of people, I'd say in fact 50% of the population, that didn't even have direct access to this for quite some time. So 10 years. 36. 32. 40. 41. 42. All right, we're getting there. 28, actually. Turns out people really like this whole consumerism stuff. If you could tell me, wait, I don't have to carry money with me. I can just say, yeah, I'm good for it. And it's like a universal tab. Oh, my God, I should crash the housing market. People got ideas, I tell you. So then we get television. Back to the more heavily electronic-based stuff. Television was awesome because it wasn't just like the radio where you're hearing things. Note that radio isn't even on this because we have no way of measuring radio. Why can't we measure radio adoption? Anyone know why? Someone take a guess.
You could make it yourself.
You can make most of it. You could technically make flight yourself, really.
It's hard to tell how many people are actually listening to it.
Yes, and also it is not a good that an individual uses. When they first had radios, we just blasted them everywhere. How many users was that in that city when you had that broadcast? I don't know, like 6, my dude? So we didn't really know, and it's really hard to keep track of. TV, though, TV you had to actually plug in. There was a whole line. We didn't have to make new lines for TV. We did it wirelessly, which, on an unrelated note, is also hilarious because it wasn't until the mid-2000s we actually figured out what TV waves actually are. Because up until then, we didn't know. We were just going for it, which is why to this day, the first ever baseball game is still being broadcast out into space forever because we had no idea what we were doing. Are we tapping into another dimension? I don't know, man. But look, you can see this infomercial 8 houses down, so let's do that. How many years did it take? Because we had radio, so this one might be a little slower because we already have this entertainment. And the original TVs were heavy, expensive, boxy, black and white. What's so chuckle-worthy? Oh, not related? That's not fun. All right. Give me some guesses. I like it when we're wrong. Yes? 10 what? 10, 13, 37. All right. That's actually the code to one of the lockers. Just kidding. All right. 22. Went faster. So much faster. Then we get back to another money thing. You'll note a lot of these have to do with money because people really like having access to money. It lets them do things they couldn't do otherwise. The automated teller machine, which was the first time we actually see people getting really, really scared of robots in an unironic way. People were afraid of cars, like, what if it decides to do this? Well, don't worry. We have this, just like the reins of a horse, we have this giant wheel that we use to wrest control of this metal beast. ATMs were, oh my God, they're taking the teller's jobs. It's a robot that gives you money. I don't even have to go in anymore. Eventually, we're not even going to react to people. I'm just going to go and say, all right, machine, give me money. And it'll go, OK, here's your money. And people were scared of this. They were taking our jobs. How many years did it take before the 50 millionth user went up to an ATM and said, all right, give me my money? Note that you don't even have to own an ATM, though. You could just go up and use these, right? What? 17, 15, what? 18? 16, 12, all right. 18, actually. If someone was born then right when this was invented or the first user really got it, then by the time they could vote, well, I guess actually back then the voting age wasn't 18, was it? It was older. So I guess that doesn't count anyway. Well, you still get the idea. Note that these are going faster. Then we get to the second row where things just get out of control. Computer. Computer is a special one because, yes, it says computer here, but for the sake of this whole thing, I'm going to say, yeah, computer, a personal computer. Like, not the big one you use at the university, because we had those back in the days of like the ARPANET, and everyone and their mom would come in to use that stuff. So for the sake of computer, a computer that exists within your domicile and not at a bug university or a nuclear silo. How many years did it take for the first person to have a nice personal computer boot up that the 50 millionth person would? 21? 10? 15? 12? I heard a whisper. 14. 14. Good job. You can shout it loud. You're right. Then we got cell phones, and it kind of shows how old my material is, because look at that picture of a cell phone. So when I say cell phones, note, this is not smartphones. This is all of cellular phones. We had telephone, but this is one that is a wireless. Remember the original, well, you don't remember it, but conceptualize the original wireless telephone, that giant blocky thing that you hold like, what's up, dude? Hey, how you doing? Yeah, let me strap that to my back and go to the next place. The antenna comes out. So how many years did it take till someone saw someone walking with one of those radiation devices like, wow, I want to strap some cancer to my back too. Oh, thanks, Verizon. Let's go. How many years before the 50 millionth person said, give me some of that? 12? 10? Not a lot of guesses on that one. That's fine. Think about this, though. Wouldn't this go pretty fast? I mean, imagine that. I can call someone and tell them anything I want whenever I feel like. I don't have to wait till I see them again or write them a letter or something. I can just say, hey, dude, what? You're fat? Boop, that's it. I can do that, and no one can stop me because I called them directly. 12, 10, 5, 12. Good job. Who said 12? Yeah, there you go. You finally got one. See, as long as you keep guessing, you'll get it. There's a lot of these. The internet. Well, if you're in my LIS 3353 class, we just got done talking about this at length. And I hope that most of you have taken care of the assessment, which got released late, but that's okay. So the internet, how long before the 50 millionth person hopped on the internet and said, ah, hello world? 10? 8? For the sake of this example, we're going to say the internet in its official capacity came online in 1992. While it did technically come online somewhere in the 80s, we're going to say 92 because that's when we first can call it the internet. So we think 8. The year 2000, we had our 50 millionth visitor. Almost, actually. Very close. 99. And you might wonder, why the hell is iPod on here? Because we have all of these other ones, and that's cool, but then also iPods? Like, that doesn't seem like, oh, yes, planes, cars, electricity, global connection, and iPods? Why is iPod on here? That's like credit cards. It's like, that seems a little odd, very specific. Why is that on here? I don't know if that's an answer, but okay.
They're a big fan of iPods.
I guess, but I mean, like, they're big fans of most of these things, depending on the generation. There's a reason that iPod is listed as a significant technological advancement on this chart. So we had portable music. We had Walkman, so the man can walk and listen. We had portable CD players, and if you ran too hard down the stairs, they'd skip on you. We had cassette tapes that we'd put on the hip and put on the headphones and go jogging, and we can like put a new cassette in there. iPods did something that changed the way that we look at music in its entirety, and we had never had access to it prior to this, and without having been existing in the time before this, it may be really hard to conceptualize how big of a deal it is because we just take it for granted now. What the hell did iPods do that were such a big deal that nothing else before it could do? Because we had portability, yeah?
One song. You buy just one song off that one. You don't have to buy the whole thing.
You could burn music on a CD and do the same thing. People were on Napster. People were doing that on LimeWire all the time. There was something that an iPod could do that nothing else could, though. I could already import music. I'll put a CD on my CD player. iPod has something special to it. Yeah? There it is. That was it. Shuffle. We kind of take this for granted. Shuffle's a big deal. The only time you could get actual music in whatever order that you don't know what's coming up next was the radio. Suddenly with Zune and iPod, we have this crazy thing that shuffles it up. And the only way to do that before was have your buddy like, here, shake the CD box and don't tell me what you're putting in. And even then, when a song ends, you know what comes next because they go together in your head. There's a lot of people here, well, Maybe not. There's the same people that remember pre-credit card days that could probably tell you the White Album from the Beatles, like from beginning to end, because as a song ends, you start singing the next one because you know that's where it comes in. And now we have shuffle, where most people, when you listen to music, don't even know what album necessarily a lot of the songs they're listening to came out on, because we've just detached songs from the album as a whole. Making an album was a big deal. It still is, but to a different extent, where it's like, yes, we have to assemble this finely crafted thing of tunes because they're going to be listened to in a certain order, et cetera, et cetera. Nowadays, yeah, pop it on Spotify. What about the other songs? No one will ever hear of them. Ever. And that's crazy, because that changed the way all of it worked. So how long before the 50 millionth person bought an iPod? In any of their forms, shuffle, iPod, whatever it is, those silhouettes with like the colored and the dancing and the headphones that we don't like anymore, whatever it is. How many years? 5. 3. 2. All right, fair. 4. So you missed, but almost. Then we have YouTube. We had video on the internet prior to this. We didn't have reliable video on the internet, especially not accessible video on the internet. You could find some weird site to upload a video to, and then God knows where that's going or who's using it for what. But we had that. It just wasn't great. YouTube was a way that you could do it. It was like TV, like a tube television, but for you, hence the name. Like it was your channel, and you could make a channel that was just you. My grandson has a channel. What's the first YouTube video? Anyone know the first YouTube video, the name of it? Yeah, there we go. Anyone know the first viral YouTube video? No, actually, prior to that. What? No, that off by about a decade there. Evolution of Dance, actually, if anyone's ever heard of that video. That was the first viral video that we consider it. But it was also hard to define them because it took a while for people to adapt YouTube. How many years did it take? Note, this is not a physical thing that you purchase. Unlike everything else where you have to do something to have it, YouTube can get a user by just going, like there's no financial transaction. So this is going to go fast. How many years? What? 2? 1? 5 months. No, it's still 4 years. Gotcha. iPods, about the same as YouTube. Then we have Facebook. Now you'll note that it says Facebook and not MySpace. And this is kind of a sad reason. Anyone know why we have Facebook but not MySpace? Anyone know why? Technically it did, but not in a reasonable amount of time. So MySpace was, very unfortunate. So how many years before we had someone sign up for an account on Facebook and they were the 50 millionth user? Those old pop-ups, but it was real. You're the 50 millionth user. And they actually were, and they never knew because they thought it was an ad. 3? Yeah? 2.5? Facebook. No, I'll say any of them. Any of its permutations. 2 years. All right. 3. Almost. Twitter. I'm going to cut the count. Twitter stopped getting users when it changed its name. Now X gets users. I'm just calling them different platforms. I don't care what you say. Twitter, by itself, before getting renamed to anything or purchased, did have 50 million users. Probably still does. How long did it take? This one's going to be faster. Why would Twitter be faster than Facebook? Wait, someone said the word. I heard the word. Accessibility, absolutely. When you make a Facebook, here's a picture of me. Here's my everything. Here's who I am. Here's all my friends. When you make a Twitter, here's a meme profile pic and a bunch of underscores. That's all you're getting. That's my username. So it was a lot easier to hop up and go. Much easier than buying an airplane. Although they do still have wings, but I'm tis. So how many years? 1? 2? 6 months. No, 2 years. It's 2 years. And then we get the last one. Pokemon Go, which, much like these services, from the first user actually hopping on to the 50 millionth individual starting to use it, how many years did that take?
4 months. 4 days.
No.
2 weeks and 5 days. 2 weeks and 4 days.
Note that everything else is measured in years. I like the idea of getting rid of that, but like
1 year. 2 weeks and 4.5 days. I stopped thinking like 2 weeks and 5 days. Was that like 19?
oh my God.
I'm going 18.
All right, cool. Yeah, you're right. 19 days. It took 68 years for the 50 millionth person to hop on a plane. 19 days the 50 millionth person hopped on Pokemon Go. What the hell happened there? The answer is information went faster. One might even say it went at hyperspeeds. We were sending information all over this web of connectivity. And so we used that, and we got way more people on board faster than we would have otherwise. Now, the whole point of that is, note, it's a curve, and it goes up. The more recent a technology is that's going to catch on, the faster it's going to catch on. Not just because your barriers to adaptation are slightly less and less, but also because we are way better at sending information. Hence Twitter, hence phones. All of these prior to this built up to the ability to send information lickety-split. So now if there's a new trend, I can say, oh my God, Becky, I just saw the craziest shoes, and they were being worn by an idiot. And you can go, oh my God, and my Velcro shoes are going to be everywhere soon. Look at this. This is their big debut. You hear that sound? Oh yeah, that's the sound of the future. Don't give me that look. The amount of you that immediately go like this. I know I'm right. That's fine. How many days for 50 million? Too bad. Hook and loop is popular. So I'm going to show you something you've already seen before. Probably in economics classes, entrepreneurship classes, innovation classes. This is actually a very popular graph that's shown in a lot of classes. Who here has never, what the? Yeah, I just did too. What is this nonsense? Where's the thing? Where's the, wait. Did it no, it didn't freeze. Oh, there we go. All right, that was weird, whatever. Here's a graph you've seen before. Have you seen this graph before? Yeah. No. All right, well, it's new now. All right, who here has never seen this graph before aside from him? Yeah, like maybe 7 of us. Everyone else, this has been done to death. This is a very popular concept, and as technology gets more and more popular, it continues to be a very popular concept. The technological, actually, wait, before I say it, what's the name of this chart that we've all seen so many times? Diffusion of innovations theory. What? Also known as, it's not the technological adaptation life cycle, but it's damn close. What? Trend cycle, the hype curve. It has a million names because it's been around that long. I bet this hit 50 million users before any of those old technologies. For those that are uninitiated or unaware, this yellow line represents adoption rate, the market share, if you will. The blue line represents the individuals that are now hopping on it. So you fall at one point in this line, and it puts you on the yellow. If you don't know what that means, that's fine. Here's an example. Innovators, this new technology comes out. Is it poisonous? We don't know. But 2.5% of the population is absolutely going to go find out. And the more it's out there, the more people are figuring this out. Early adopters, 13.5%. That's when at least this many people are on it. And the early adopters are like, all right, okay, all right, I'll give it a shot. It's not poisonous. That's all I need to know. Is it good? Doesn't matter. It's not poisonous. That's what I need to know. Early majority, they say, next thing, I'm on it. Late majority, fine, I see everyone's doing this. I'll hop on, whatever, that's fine. Laggards, you can't make me. You can't make me do it. I'm not doing it. Give me my old rotary phones back. I don't like this touchscreen crap. You fall somewhere on here with every single technological invention that you partake in. Every time you imbibe in sweet technological bliss for the first time, no matter what it is, you are falling somewhere on this chart. And it won't be the same every time. You may trend as an innovator. You may trend as a laggard. That's fine. There's a million studies that correlate this with age and everything else, and it's quite fascinating. But the point is that you are only going to be on one spot depending on the technology. Here's an example. I am not making this up. This is a real thing that I saw. I rode in a car that had this. I'm sure you could Google this. This car that I was riding in, my buddy's car, and he's like, this car is so cool, check this out. I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and I want to roll the window down, right? And I look over, and there's not like I'll roll the window down. There is, on the armrest of the car, a button, and I push it down, and the window, like little magical pixies, pull it down and go, brrr, and I stop and it stops. And I can pull the button up, not like I pull the button. And it goes, brrr, 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 and I can do that with the window. I don't actually have to crank anything. Here I am. That's me, because I drive a 97 Corolla, and I crank the windows when I want to. Most of you, this isn't even news. This is like, wait, where's the, oh, that's it? But then there's some of you, and that's kind of the challenging part, where you don't know where you are until you adapt the technology and see who else is already there. There's a lot of you that think you're here, but it's really hard to see ahead. So Pokemon Go, that's a good example. Who here thinks that they were one of the innovators, one of the first 2.5%-ish, or like you were one of the first here, or whatever it was? Yeah, maybe? Maybe, yeah. What makes you think you were one of the first?
Downloaded it, pulled it, Nintendo announced it came out.
That's pretty fast. That's pretty fast. So realistically, it's safe to assume you're probably like literally one of the first, right? But you're wrong. You don't know where you are in this cycle, because no matter how early you think you are, no matter how cool I think this thing is that goes brr, brr, it's the same problem. I'm earlier than you. Where did they get those Pokestops? From a game called Ingress, 7 years going prior to that. So if you look at the Pokestops around the theater school, you'll see in the background a small version of me with longer hair and a pink phone in the reflection of Pokestop pictures in glass that I'm taking. That's right, I was the innovator, not you. But that's okay, because you don't know what happened prior when you get in there. Just like I'm not aware of how this brr, brr thing is really kind of, you know, past 30, 40 years, until I tell everyone and you look at me like I'm insane. But the reason I'm showing you this chart you've seen before is to answer that question of the actual technological adaptation lifecycle, which this is not. Anyone that tells you this, that's cute. This could be argued is the technological adaptation lifecycle, but on a very, very micro scale. Let's talk about the real one. No, wait, how do I? There was a way to do this, and I was told how to do it, and I unplugged something. Where's the HDMI I plug in? I unplugged it. All right, cool, I'll just do this then. So this is why I wanted a whiteboard. Here we go. Don't need this anymore. Well, bam. Uh-oh. Ah. Hey, that's me. I didn't write that. How do I, oh, I've never used this before. This is awful. How do I make, I love it. All right. This is going to be me learning. So here's the technological adaptation lifecycle. And this is why I wanted to give a lecture on this, because a lot of you have never heard of this in your life, despite the fact that you live through it constantly. It's not this micro innovation hype curve crap that you'll hear in every textbook from here to Sunday. This is how it affects before it gets to you. So when technology first comes about, when there is some new technological innovation, with almost everything on that series, on that board of presentation we just saw with all those technologies, anytime there's something new, what is the first thing that happens with it? Before it's even released to the market, what is the first thing that takes place as soon as it's invented? I would hope so, but actually there's something that happens oftentimes even before that. There's a really big important question that gets asked by some really big important people. Anyone know what it is?
How much money am I going to make?
Even before that, actually. Which is crazy, right? Like, what beats capitalism? I'll tell you what beats capitalism. Humans do. The first question is, can I kill someone with this? And that's asked by the US government. The first thing that happens with any technology is, all right, can we weaponize this? Yes, I'm sure it'll make money, blah, blah, but can we kill people with it? And if the answer is no, then we need to try harder. So the first thing that happens with any technology, before you get it, before anyone gets it, is the government gets it. And I'm going to draw, oh, that's a big one. How do I make this less big? Oh, look at that. That's cute. Can I? Oh, that's neat. So this is going to represent the government, and this is going to be bad. It's cute that I wanted a whiteboard because that implies I have any ability to draw, but that's okay. This is the government. Yep, this is the entire government right here. That's the government. They get it first. Before anyone else does, the government has some to play with. And once they determine that they can kill people with it, then they'll make a version that doesn't, and you can do whatever you want, or they'll take it to war, blah, blah, or they'll pay you a lot of money. It's great. And then once they're done, who gets it next? What body of individuals, if the government represents one, what is the next group to get this thing? Hey, who said that? Yeah, smart, you're right. The big corporations, those are the most important people in America. We know this, lobbyists tell us this. So these corporations, I don't know how to draw a corporation. It's a big old factory. It's got some like windows, and those are smokestacks coming out of the smokestacks. Cool, corporations. It's got like a gate or something, I don't know. Big old corporations get it first. The Amazon warehouses, all of that stuff. As soon as government's like, nah, I can't kill anyone, then it goes out to who wants it, but the only people who can then afford it are the big old corporations. The ones with all the money and all the government sway. And once the corporations are done, which hopefully happens soonish, once the corporations are done, there's another group that gets it. What's the other group? And I should mention before we start guessing more, there's 5 here that we're going to have. You can split this entire thing down into these 5 groups. So what's that middle one? Corporations are done. Government's been done for a while. Who gets it next? It's me. No, who is it? It's not me. The rich, absolutely. How do I represent the rich? I'm going to draw a what? Yeah, I'm going to draw a bag of money with some dollar signs on it. There we go. I'm going to draw like a sack of cash here. I'm not capable of, this looks like poop with a bow, so I'm not even going to try that. So, yeah, the rich get it, the upper class. The upper crust get it. They're the ones that get it before any of us ne'er-do-wells do. Any of us hoodlums, the plebeians, we get to look at them and their nice things. That's how that works. Oh man, you got that straight from the Amazon warehouse. I want one. I thought only big companies could have those. And you have one in your living room? Why, yes. Like the personal computers. The first people to use computers was the government. Because can we deal with the Cold War with this? Unfortunately, no. And then corporations got it because banks want to figure out whose money is where. And then if you were really rich, well, gee, Billy, why does your dad have a personal computer that you can hack the Pentagon on in your living room? We just got money like that. Who's next? After the rich people are done playing with their toys, you that looks awkward and doesn't want to be a part of this. Who's next?
I don't know, I wasn't listening.
That's fine, me neither. Anyone else have a guess? They're not enough distributors to make them their own category. Also, technically, distributors would have had to be there before the rich anyway. Who gets it next? What's the big body of people that get it next?
Little corporations.
Little corporations. Oh, nah, I'm putting those all in corporations. Unfortunately, I feel like I can probably put the first world somewhere in here. Middle class. Yeah, it's everyone else. Literally, the lower class, the middle class, it's all of us. Unfortunately, the middle class is not large enough to warrant its own category. So we get it. Look, that's us. Look at us. We're so happy. We don't have money. That's over there, but that's fine. So you all get it. I get it. You get it. Humans get it. The average layman gets the technology next. It's a good thing to have this hypothetical technology. And then only once we're done, only once we are quite finished with this technology, then where does it go? Yeah, but you can find some crazy technology in thrift stores. This one's hard. I don't expect you to guess it, but I like the guessing anyway. What? Oh, yeah. Wait, have you taken my class before? God, okay, you can't just, it's like you're the movie. Oh no, it's a twist ending. Shut up. Yeah, you're right. It is not technology anymore. We no longer consider it technology. And that's a really crazy one because we can see this happening with a lot of different stuff that we don't really consider technology, hence where it ended up. Like a mechanical pencil. That's insane. Man, when I was younger, maybe when you were younger in like elementary school, you'd get one of those cute little transparent tube pencils and you put a lead in the back and you push it out. It's like the Halloween themed ones, the Christmas ones, you push one. You know what I'm talking about? A couple nodding your heads. If you have no idea, that's fine. And then someone came to school like in 3rd grade with the thing, you click it and it's like a pen, but just lead comes out and everyone's like, and they're like, no one can touch it but me. And then someone steals it during recess and it's a whole problem. Now you see a mechanical pencil on the side of the road and you're not picking that up. Ugh, I don't want to touch that. Where'd you get that? You can literally get them for a dime a dozen at Walmart. They're not technology. It's like a ballpoint pen. Ballpoint pens were insane. Does anyone here actually know how a ballpoint pen works? Yeah, from a technological perspective, those things are absolutely incredible. Like the amount of stuff that's going on in a ballpoint pen to actually work with the actual orb and the ink reservoir and stuff, like that's insane. And we throw those out even if they're new in box. Like when I'm dumpster diving, when y'all move out, there are boxes of ballpoint pens unopened and no one wants them. Like you can't pay me to take a ballpoint pen these days. Like, yes, Bic. It's not like some high-end, ooh, very nice. It's like, oh yeah, don't they make dumb pens? But I promise you, back in the day, that was a big deal. So as technology goes down, you can actually number it, where we end up at 0 here, and I'll put a 0 right here. Actually, I'm going to use a different color, or this is going to get ugly, implying it's not already. There we go. So I'm going to put, why is it fat now? You'd think I'd be better than this. All right, here we go. Come on, technology. I need you to make me look like the wizard that I am. What? No, come back. Come on. God, got some boomer vibes going here. All right, here we go. 0, 1, 2. How do I make this stop dancing? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so you have this cycle where as technology comes out, doesn't matter what technology it is, it all follows the same thing. This is the Technology Adaptation Lifecycle. When do we get to consume this? And the answer is, well, you're living here at a 3, it's going to take a while. Realistically, we're at a state university. We've all got money. You might not, but your parents do, or your scholarships do. Realistically, we're at like 4. I'd say in this room, we're a bunch of 4s, maybe 4.2s. I'd say that's where we are mostly. Some of us might be lower, some of us might be higher. There might be like a 5.5 sitting amongst us, and we don't even know. That's right, cover your Rolex, we're on to you. The bourgeois is among us. But either way, we're mostly around here. And you can see that's the technology we have access to. Look over there. There's something on the desk. What is it? Not the computer. Yes. What the hell does that mean? A quest, like a game? Is there an exclamation point floating there? Can I go accept something? No. What is it? Yes. Whoa, they're just sitting there. We have a VR headset. I'm using an acronym, a virtual reality headset, VR, because we all totally know what that is now. And it's just lying there. And no one's using it. We're not like punching and kicking to get in line to go into the virtual space. It's just there because we can use it whenever. If you're in my class, well, I guess not this semester, but it's sitting there and it's not even a big deal. Why? Because VR is killing somewhere around the 3, 2.5, where it's not unreasonable to get these at home. You can get one. It's not like 10 years ago where you're not going to have one of these. It's not like an electric Tesla, where electric cars were something used by military operations only, and then big corporations. And it's not like a Tesla where you're only going to see like a 6 using it, like, whoa, that guy's a Tesla. They're getting more distributed. Who here owns a Tesla? Don't you raise your hand. Who here knows someone that owns a Tesla? Yeah, right? It's coming down, man. Eventually, I'm telling you, it's going to get to us, and we're going to start having them. It's going to be common. Like smartphones. We don't have razors anymore. Remember the razor smartphone, you flip it up? Anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah, those were the best. You could take a picture with your phone. What is that, a phone or a camera? What are you doing? And now that's actually useless. And smartphones, where the entire thing is a screen, man, the iPhone came out. It's a phone, but an iPod, and it plays music and has a milk app that I can pretend to drink milk with, and everyone loves it. Only the cool kids have that. Nowadays, you can't go to college without it. As technology permeates everything, as it's adopted, it goes through these life cycle changes. And it's actually gotten so intense that we have to add a couple more categories to this, which is really interesting. So we've got one up here, which is before the government. And that's weird. What on earth happens before the government? Who's ahead of that? Yeah, the people that actually made it. The people in a lab that are actually creating this stuff. This is where it's not actually real or useful yet, but we're figuring it out. So the first ones before the government are the people that actually invent it. This is before it's being proven useful. Technically speaking, this isn't part of the 10 because this is before we can realistically consider it technology, but it's still useful to have a frame of reference for where this comes beforehand. There's another one on the end that we had to add. That's right, this stuff's crazy. It goes to -1, that was supposed to be a 1, but I'll take it, and -2. Wait, what time is it? I'm not running out of time, am I? Oh, I've got 5 minutes, that's good. So what happens after it's not technology? How does something get less than not technology? Like, how do you go lower, yeah? Yeah, I'd agree with that. It is technology that you cannot use even if you wanted to because it requires newer or alternative technology to make use of. Example, a floppy disk. That was technology, but now it's not only so old that it's not just not technology, we have to go out of our way to use it if we wanted to. So we have this final step here where it's not just no longer technology, it is acknowledged in technology, but its only value lies in the concept of its ancientness. That's supposed to be a gravestone, says RIP. Rest in peace, floppies. So this is what happens like a feather pen. We have ballpoint pens now that we don't consider technology, and prior to that we had like a feather pen that requires an inkwell and stuff. Using that is actually a pain in the ass. So it's not just not a technology, it is challenging to use because we lack the prerequisite technology because that's how old it is, and its only value relies in its vintage nature. And of course, there's one more. Yes, there's one more. Believe it or not, it goes back on the other side here because there is, technically speaking, a 13 and 14. And this one's really weird. How on earth do we have something of before it's invented? Yeah, it's a concept. This is not real yet. We're still coming up with this thing, and it's a hypothetical idea. Teleporters, that goes in there. Mind-reading goggles, X-ray vision. These are concepts. They're sci-fi. They're not real. Robots were sci-fi before we had them. Now we have them. This crazy device that's in everyone's pocket that connects you to the uplink and like the neural net of the world where you can get all the information. Oh my God, wait, we have them. Tomorrow's sci-fi is going to be crazy sci-fi. Yesterday's sci-fi is today's technology. It goes down all the way to, oh, this is like getting cut off. You can't see it, but I've written it correctly on this one. It goes all the way down to the end, and I didn't put the nice triangles up here to highlight that these are, in fact, other ones. There we go, now we're even. Until eventually it stops becoming technology, and the only valuable thing is in its usefulness. There is currently talk on the official classification of this, which is really just a bunch of history nerds deciding how to address this, to debatably add one additional one over here where it is now considered as valuable as something here because of how rare it is, where it is extinct. It's not just we can't use it, it's that you can't even see it anymore. And that makes it valuable because it's gone. Not like, oh, a floppy disk, which we can't use them, or a ballpoint pen, or like a quill pen. It's that something so ancient like an original abacus that you dig up from an archaeological site. That's how old this thing is, where it gains as much value, if not more, than when it was new because it's so old. How much was a GameCube when they first came out? 125, I think. But yeah. How much are they now?
1,317.
Okay, they're more than 125. So people are saying, technology, technically speaking, it ends up here where it becomes more valuable because you can't use it the same way. But there's a lot of debate over that. So that's kind of the emerging technology of history nerds that are defining this stuff. Okay. Oh, wow, perfect timing. God, I love it when I get the script right. All right, so that right there, that's the technological adaptation life cycle. This is where technology goes. You already know about it on a macro scale from those curves with the blue and the gold and the innovation curve and whatever that is. This is it when you zoom out a little more. You will see things that they're using in a lot of these places, and eventually it might get to us, I hope. And maybe one day some of us will be 5s instead of our lowly 3s. A couple of you will be 1s, but that's all right. We don't know who that is yet, but your teachers can probably guess. Anyway, that's all I got for you. That's the technological adaptation life cycle. Anyone have any questions? Because I'm out of time. Not a single question. Seriously? Oh, wow, wait, really?
Yeah. Wait, who came up with this?
The same, so the original hype curve, or at least its permutations that we learned today, were done by Dr. Everett Rogers, and that's a whole thing. This is by not Dr. Gerald Haskins. I think it's a group of individuals that research this stuff. Realistically, everyone has come up with different versions of this. What makes one of these stick is that enough other people go, yeah, I dig that. So like, there's a lot of different formulas to do the same things. Maybe Pythagorean was just the one that caught on first.
So is this like adapted? Like, did you adapt this at
No,
all?
this is straight off the textbooks. If you look up the yeah. The challenge is most people don't do this in like normal schools and whatnot unless you're specifically talking about innovation, because as it matters to you, the laggards, the innovators, that's way more relevant to you. This is like on a macro level, so it's not usually as relevant, so we don't learn about it as much. But it's absolutely there, and the forces are to be reckoned with. And also it kind of speaks for itself. All right, any other questions? Cool. All right, that's all we got.